Okay, today we'll see the overhead absorption costing. Most probably this is class 4, na? Class 4, na? Class 4. So today we will go through overhead absorption costing. Overhead absorption. Overhead absorption costing. This is another important chapter in costing. The up to last classes, whatever the cost classification and costing actually we discussed, in every cases we focus the direct portion of cost. But think about this cost. See. Insurance. So these are some kinds of example of different types of cost actually. But see, insurance, heating, lighting, depreciation, storage, maintenance, administration, canteen, etc., etc. These are also kinds of cost. It actually associated if you want to operate any kinds of business. But think yourself, if you are the manufacturer of pen, in that case these are not directly related with the production process. Still they are cost, and through the selling price you have to overcome these kinds of cost if you want to generate some kinds of profit, right? So you have to consider these costs as well, but these are indirect cost, and there is a problem when you have to deal with the indirect kinds of cost. What are the problem? In the case of direct portion of cost, direct costs are directly related with the finished item, finished unit, or you can say cost unit. So we can identify how much cost for each individual unit should be there. But in the case of insurance, heating, lighting, warehousing, depreciation, these are also cost. These are indirect cost, but it is not very much easy to charge these kinds of cost to a specific unit. Question may be arise, what portion or what percentage of this cost will be added to a specific one individual unit so that we can find out the total cost. This is the ultimate problem, and that's why we'll have to go through overhead absorption costing. Overhead absorption is a kind of process of calculating cost, but the fact is here through overhead absorption costing we actually try to find out the fair portion of indirect cost that should be charged with each individual unit. That means if these are the different kinds of indirect costs associated in a production run, in that case you have to find out the fair portion. Fair portion of indirect cost as a kind of example percentage. The question is, if these are the indirect cost, what percentage of this total indirect cost should be charged with a specific unit? It may be possible you are the manufacturer of pen and pencil at the same time. Pen and pencil are two different kinds of product. So they will use different to produce or to manufacture each individual pen and pencil. Indirect cost may be charged in different way. That's why we are saying that is fair portion of indirect cost that should be charged with the finished unit. That is actually calculated through this overhead absorption costing. Now, that's why we are saying that is overhead absorption costing is a procedure of finding or calculating the fair portion of indirect cost that should be charged with the individual unit. That is overhead absorption costing. So, a particular kind of classification, right? Now, thing is, so how we can go for? How we can go for doing this overhead absorption cost? if you want to find out the absorption, the thing is absorbing something. Absorb means তুমি যদি একটা শোলার কথা চিন্তা করো, if you think about the শোলা না কি বলো এটাকে, যদি রেখে দাও লিকুইডের মধ্যে, it will absorb some portion of liquid depend upon its capacity. এখানেও absorption, why we are using absorption? It is a finished unit. Some portion of direct cost are related with this, but being a finished unit, it will also absorb some portion of indirect cost. We need to find out that, which is called fair portion. That's why the name is overhead absorption cost. That is, finished unit is absorbing some kinds of or some portion of overhead. Clear? So when you actually step forward to calculate the overhead absorption costing, you have to go through 3 sequential stages. Sequential. Why these are sequential? Allocation and apportionment. Reapportionment. And OAR. These are the 3 sequential stages, or you can say simultaneous stages. Why? Because whimsically you cannot go for making the reapportionment. These are the stages. Each stage will start end of the previous stage. আগেরটা স্টেজ শেষ হবে, then পরবর্তী স্টেজ শুরু হবে. So first of all, if you marking these A, B and C, these are A, B and C. So first we think about A, which is allocation and apportionment. What do you mean by this? Allocation and apportionment. What do you mean by this? The thing is, suppose within your business organization there are 2 different departments to establish department. As for example, one is production department, another is sales and distribution department. These are the SBU, you can say strategic business unit, right? So SBU, Babu koi? Acha amar class 1 ঘন্টা বেশি আমি আনি বলা আছে. Each one is a strategic business unit, or you can say cost center. These are cost center. In the previous stages we discussed what do you mean by cost center, a specific product or service location. Production department is a cost center. Suppose this is a store, is a kind of cost center as well. In every cases, to operate these kinds of department, you need to associate different types of cost, right? But end of the day, you have to overcome all these costs by selling your finished product. Now the thing is, allocation and apportionment. This is a process of distributing. Allocation and apportionment is a process of distributing. What you are distribute here? Here you will distribute different kinds of overheads. Different kinds of overheads. You will distribute overheads to different departments, both service as well as production department, depend upon the benefit they are acquiring, benefit they are taking. As for example, think about depreciation. Suppose total depreciation of your company is $100, as for example. You need to charge this total depreciation to this department and this department. So obviously there should be some specific kind of measurement which can be said or called basis of distribution. We'll look forward. So how this depreciation $100 can be charged here and here? So we'll charge this $100 here and here, depend upon some criteria, depend upon some basis. Suppose as for example, we'll charge $60 here and $40 for this department. So this distributing process is called allocation and apportionment. That means charging overheads to individual department, both service as well as production, depend upon the benefit they are achieving, benefit they are taking. যে পরিমাণ বেনিফিট নিচ্ছে সেই পরিমাণ তাদেরকে চার্জ করো। ক্লিয়ার? নাও দ্য কোশ্চেন, এখানে একটা কোশ্চেন আসে তাহলে, সো হাউ দিস 60 and 40 অ্যাকচুয়ালি ক্যালকুলেটেড? এই 40 and 60 কিভাবে আসছে? So here you guys have to memorize some basis of apportionment. As for example, depreciation. Depreciation may be for machine, depreciation even may be for building. Right? Depreciation machine will be allocated in between the department depend upon book value. Suppose you have different machine in different department. So how, as a whole, the total depreciation for machine will be distributed or allocated depend upon the book value of each individual machine. As for example, we have department A and B. $100 to be allocated in a portion. Department A has machine which book value is 1,000 and department B's machine whose book value is 2,000, as for example. So we will distribute this $100 in between A and B depend upon 1:2 proportion, depend upon the book value. It's a kind of example. Then depreciation of building. Depreciation of building, it should be allocated and apportioned in between the department depend upon the floor area. Floor area means length into height. That means a square feet. Square feet hote pare, square yard hote pare, even a square meter hote pare. Clear? So depreciation of machine will be distributed according to book value. Depreciation of building will be distributed according to floor area. Just like depreciation, it may be insurance and maintenance. Maintenance টা আমরা পরে আলোচনা করি। Insurance premium, how much insurance premium charge to be provided? Just like this one. Machine insurance will be according to book value. Building insurance will be according to floor area. Then also it may be heating and lighting. Heating and lighting. These are the different kinds of indirect costs that you have to charge in different departments. So heating and lighting to be allocated according to volume. Volume means length into height into height. That means আগে ছিল area means square, length into height into height, তখন কি আসবে cubic meter, cubic yard, just for that. But only lighting cost will be charged or allocated in between the department depend upon floor area. But heating and lighting একসাথে এখানে খেয়াল রাখতে হবে। Heating and lighting volume, only lighting depend upon the floor area. Clear? Okay. Then think about canteen, admin, canteen, medical. These are the defined types of costs that associated depend upon the labor intensity. That means each individual department is operated by some number of employees. More number of employee, more portion of admin cost. That means admin, canteen and medical, these costs should be allocated in between the department depend upon the number of employee each individual department have. যার যত না এমপ্লয়ি তার উপরে তত চার্জ করতে হবে। Clear? So these are some bases that you guys have to memorize. These are the bases depend upon which you have to allocate different kinds of indirect cost to different department, both service as well as production. So this is the allocation and apportionment. So end of the day, suppose this is production department and this is service department. So initially you have different kinds of indirect cost. end of the allocation and apportionment, you charge all indirect cost, all parts of indirect cost in these two departments. So end of the allocation and apportionment, you will have total indirect cost of production department A and total indirect cost of service department B. Clear? Now the thing is, only production department is involved in producing some specific things or producing the finished goods. We need to find out what portion should be charged to the finished item. So our main activity is to bring up all kinds of cost into this production department. That end of the allocation apportionment, we have total production indirect cost and service department indirect cost. Service department's cost actually associated as the service department is providing service to the production department. Suppose, as for example, maintenance is an example of service department. Store is an example of service department. Maintenance department, store department, these are providing service to the production department to operate, right? That's why they are as defined types of cost. Now the thing is, we have to suppose another example. Suppose we have two production department, this is P1 and this is P2, and we have store department. So store department is the service department, and these are the two production department who are involving in producing some specific finished item. So store department overhead cost to be distributed in between these two service and these two production department. So what the way? The way or the process is called reapportionment. Reapportionment means here we have to allocate the service department overheads to different production department depend upon the benefit they acquire, the benefit they take from the service department. সার্ভিস ডিপার্টমেন্টের কস্টটাকে আমাদের এখন কাজ কি প্রোডাকশনের মধ্যে ডিস্ট্রিবিউট করে দিব কিসের উপরে ভিত্তি করে, কে কতটুকু বেনিফিট সার্ভিস থেকে নিচ্ছে। ঠিক আছে, এক্সাম্পল, সাপোজ স্টোর ডিপার্টমেন্ট কস্ট 100, that should be reapportioned in between P1 and P2. So what will be the process? Another example হচ্ছে, suppose store department, production department A requisition $1,000 material and production department B requisition $2,000 of material. So this requisition is a kind of service this department taken from the store. That's why the store department total cost estimated for providing these kinds of service. So this cost should be apportioned in between these two departments depend upon this proportion. That means 1:2 proportion. So store department, as for example, store department is a service department. Store department cost should be apportioned in between the production department depend upon the value of the material requisitioned by each individual department. কে কত টাকার ম্যাটেরিয়াল স্টোর থেকে নিচ্ছে তার উপরে ভিত্তি করে, তার উপরে ডিপেন্ড করে আমরা এটাকে ভাগ করে দেব। মেইনটেনেন্স ইজ another example of সার্ভিস ডিপার্টমেন্ট। মেইনটেনেন্সের কস্টটা কিভাবে ডিস্ট্রিবিউট করব? Will reapportion maintenance department cost depend upon the maintenance hours have been worked for each individual department. As for example, this is an example of maintenance department and total cost of maintenance department is $100. এটাকে কিভাবে ভাগ করব? Depend upon the maintenance hours have been worked out. Suppose maintenance crew work 20 hours for this department and 10 hours for this department. So we'll have to distribute this $100 of maintenance cost in between the production department depend upon the hours proportion 2:1. Clear? The store আমরা কিভাবে ভাগ করতেছি? The store to be reapportioned depend upon the value of the material requisitioned by each individual department. Whereas store to be reapportioned depend upon the maintenance cost will be reapportioned depend upon the maintenance hours have been worked for each individual department. Clear? So End of the reapportionment. Reapportionment, we have only the production department total overhead cost. Clear? So you can say this is collecting X from different sources and then collecting those total X in a specific basket. আমরা বিভিন্ন জায়গা থেকে খরচগুলোকে কালেক্ট করে এনে কোথায় নিয়ে আসলাম, একটা জায়গায় নিয়ে আসলাম। Now it is very much easy to find out the NOAR, overhead absorption rate, or you can say fixed production overhead absorption rate. How you can go for that? End of the day, we have to calculate OAR. OAR means budgeted overheads. Overheads divided by budgeted activity. Here, in calculating OAR, budgeted শব্দটাকে use করে আসছি, because whatever the different kinds of indirect costs that we have already discussed, in every cases these all overheads are budgeted, not actual. Clear? So total budget overhead associated to operate a specific production department divided by budgeted activity. Now you have to focus on this budget activity. What may be the budget activity? এটা কি হতে পারে? It may be number of unit produced. As for example, production department A budgeted cost 100 and budget unit produced is 101. What does this one means? This one means to produce each individual finished unit, production department A absorb $1 indirect cost. Meaning ta bocha geche. Then it may be direct labor hour. Suppose total cost 100 and total এখানে সেক্ষেত্রে এই 100টা হচ্ছে total direct labor hour. That means to operate production department A, your total direct labor hours or total direct labor involved in production department A is 100 hours. So A1 এর মানে কি? A1 means $/HR. That means to operate this department A, whenever your direct labor forces is involved in doing any activity for 1 hour, for that 1 hour they are absorbing $1 indirect cost. তাহলে আমরা বের করতেছি indirect cost, কিন্তু activity আমাদের কি direct. Then maybe direct machine hour. সেক্ষেত্রে whenever in this department the machine actually operated for each individual 1 hour, the machine is absorbing $1 indirect cost. Clear? It may be percentage of prime cost, or you can say prime cost as well. Prime cost as well means, that means when you are accumulating all kinds of direct cost, direct labor, direct material, direct other expenses. So you can divide this by percentage of prime cost. So these are the different kinds of budgeted activity that you can use to find out the OAR, overhead absorption rate. Rate per unit, rate per labor hour. What kinds of labor hour? Direct labor hour. Rate per machine hour, rate per prime cost, even rate per material. Direct material cost, it may be you may use direct material cost. So these are the different kinds of activity that you can go for. Okay. So this is the 3 consecutive stages in calculating the overhead absorption rate. Now, আমরা বললাম OAR means budgeted overheads divided by budgeted activity. Suppose the calculated amount is 10. What does this 10 means? This 10 actually comes from two different variables. Both are budgeted. That's why it is also budgeted. That means, suppose it is $10 per labor hour. That means you are expecting, you are budgeting. Budget means expect. You are expecting or you are budgeting that $10 will be absorbed when your direct labor forces are involved in doing any kinds of activity for 1 hour. For each individual 1 hour, they will absorb $10. Clear? এটা কেন বললাম? এখান থেকে আমাদের একটা অঙ্ক আসে। সেটা কি অঙ্ক? অঙ্কটা হচ্ছে এরকম, আন্ডার অর ওভার। তোমাদের আমি এই অঙ্ক সব ধরে ধরে করেছি, মনে পড়তেছে? এই চ্যাপ্টার বলার পেছনে কারণ হচ্ছে এটা, আন্ডার এন্ড ওভার। আন্ডার এন্ড ওভার অ্যাবজর্পশন, we need to find out this under and over absorption. How we can calculate that? First of all, we have to find out absorbed overheads. How we can calculate this? By multiplying OAR into actual activity, and you have to compare this absorbed overhead with actual overhead incurred. The thing is, suppose your OAR is $2 per hour, suppose, for example. Your actual labor hour is 10 hours. Actual overheads is, suppose, $15. So what will be the scenario in this case? First of all, we need to find out or calculate it. Absorb. Absorb means OAR into actual activity. So here our OAR, expected OAR is 2 and actual activity is 10, that means 20. This 20 we are expecting. That is in this actual hour I am expecting the cost may be $20. But actual cost incurred, actual overhead you can find this end of the activity. Activity যখন শেষ হয়ে যাবে তখন জানেন, right? So end of the activity your actual overhead incurred 50. এখানে মনে রাখবা, we have to compare our absorbed overhead, compare absorbed with actual, whether my absorbed or whether my expectation is under or over. So here our expectation is over, so this is over. Here our expectation is $5 over than the actual. Actual যা ছিল তার থেকে আমি বেশি ধরে নিয়েছি। যদি এটা উল্টা হয়ে যেত, if this is in the case of 15, 20, this 5. So here our expectation is $5 under than the actual. This is. তাহলে এখন একটা জিনিস খেয়াল করো, এখান থেকে আরেকটা কোশ্চেন আসে। কোশ্চেনটা হচ্ছে এরকম, absorbed means OAR into actual activity or actual. আমরা ছোট ক্লাসে পড়তাম না, মানুষ মুরগির ডাক শুনে, পাখির ডাক শুনে ঘুম থেকে ওঠে। আমি এই মেয়েটার কান্না শুনে প্রত্যেকদিন ঘুম থেকে উঠি। ও ভোরবেলা উঠেই বিশাল জোরে চিৎকার করে কান্নাকাটি করে, ও যে এখন কাঁদতেছে। ও সাধারণত 12টা পর্যন্ত এরকম করে, 12টার পরে আর কান্নাকাটি করে না। অ্যাকচুয়াল ওভারহেড, অ্যাকচুয়াল ওভারহেডে আমরা যেটা বলছিলাম, তাহলে দেখো আন্ডার, আন্ডার হচ্ছে কখন? when your expectation is under than the actual, অ্যাকচুয়াল থেকে আন্ডার হচ্ছে। এই আন্ডার হচ্ছে কি কারণে খেয়াল করে দেখো তো। আন্ডার হচ্ছে এখানেও যখন অ্যাকচুয়াল ওভারহেড তুমি বের করতেছো, এই অ্যাকচুয়াল অ্যাক্টিভিটি এখানেও আসতেছে, বাট এখানে অন্য একটা রেট চার্জ হচ্ছে, অ্যাকচুয়ালি সাম কাইন্ডস অফ আদার রেট মেবি। এখন খেয়াল করে দেখো, অ্যাকচুয়াল ইজ হিয়ার, অ্যাকচুয়াল ইজ হিয়ার, হিয়ার দিস রেট ইজ বাজেটেড, দিস রেট ইজ অ্যাকচুয়ালি। তাহলে আন্ডার হচ্ছে আমাদের কি? আন্ডার হচ্ছে when your OAR, budgeted OAR is less than the actual rate। বোঝা গেল? কোশ্চেন এরকম আসে যে আন্ডার is occurred for which reason, ওখানে অনেকগুলো রেট দেওয়া থাকে। আবার ওভার কখন হবে? সো এগুলো বইতে থাকবে না, এগুলো তোমার নিজের জানতে হবে। ওভার, ওভার কখন হচ্ছে? when the budgeted overhead rate or OAR is more than the actual rate, then that will be over. Clear? বোঝা গেছে? Now then this is the end of the discussion of overheads. We start with different overheads. Overheads, এটাকে আমরা কি করছিলাম? We charge these different overhead to different department allocation. Apportionment. Then আমরা এটাকে কি করে আসছিল? Then we reapportionment, right? Reapportionment. Reapportionment. Here we charge different overhead to different department, both service as well as production. But in the case of reapportion, we apportion or we distribute service department overhead to production department, depend upon the benefit they achieved, benefit they acquired, right? Then এখান থেকে আমরা বের করলাম OAR for each individual department. Then finally we calculated under অথবা over. This is the empirical picture of this total chapter as a whole. স্টেজগুলো মনে পড়লো? So now এখন in the mathematical segment, আমি খালি ডিসকাশনটা বলে দিব, আজকে পুরো দেখাচ্ছি না আমি, কিন্তু তোমরা জানো মেইন ডিসকাশনটা বলে দিব। Mathematical problem segment, just I will discuss two different problems, দুইটা প্রবলেম নিয়ে আলোচনা। Number one, there will be under or over. Within the mathematical problem question, the word under over may be there. If under over word is there, that means you have to use the structure absorbed, and actual. Absorbed component গুলা খেয়াল করো, we are into actual activity, এটা একটা। দেন এখানে আসে আন্ডার অথবা ওভার। সো ইউ গাইস মে বি প্রোভাইডেড দিস অ্যাকচুয়াল ওভার and this under over things. So if this two component is there, you can find out the third component, right? If you have the third component, and if you have the actual activity, then you can find out where. So by using this structure, you may be asked to find out where or actual activity. But the fact is, when the word underover is there, first use this structure. Then find out what are the component that you are given and what component that you are asked to find out. বোঝা গেছে? এটা করলে তো তোমার যে কোনো কিছু পারবে। যেমন as for example, underover দেয়া আছে, মনে করো under দেয়া আছে, suppose overhead is under absorbed 20 and this one is suppose 30. If under absorbed 20 and this actual overhead is 30, so you can find out this one. This one will be 10, 20 under absorbed. Now, if the actual activity is 5, you can find out where. Or if the where is 5, you can find out actual activity. So question এর বাইরে তো আর কিছু আসবে না। বোঝা গেছে? এটা একটা অপশন। another আরেকটা অপশন আসে কোশ্চেনে, আরেকটা কোশ্চেন বলি। You guys will be provided suppose department A, department B. Overheads. This department overhead is $1,000 and this department is $1,500. So they are থাকবে। Then, as for example, this department are producing product X. To produce product X, this department involved in doing 2 hours of activity and this department involved in doing 1 hours of activity. ঠিক আছে? Budget that is 500 units of X will be produced. খেয়াল করে দেখ, এর বাইরে অন্য কোনো অঙ্ক দেয়া থাকবে না। Two different departments overhead is there. One individual product, budgeted unit is 500. You are expecting to produce 500 units. To produce each individual unit, this department require 2 hours and this department require 1 hour. You need to find out the cost of X. Need to find out the total overhead that should be charged to produce X. কিছুই না। Where we have to find out first. এখন where যদি বের করতে চাই, we are expecting to produce 500 of kind of X. This department required 1,000 hours and this department required how much? 500 hours. Right? প্রতিটা 2 ঘন্টা, তাহলে 500 প্রোডিউস এই ডিপার্টমেন্ট করতে 1000 আওয়ার্স লাগবে আর এর 500 আওয়ার্স লাগবে। ভাগ দিয়ে দাও। $1 per hour and here 1500 3 আসে নাকি? $3 per hour. What does it mean? When each department is involved in doing any kinds of activity for 1 hour, each individual hour this department is absorbing 1 hour, whereas this department is absorbing $3. Now the thing is, to produce X, this department need 2 hours. In 2 hours, it require 2 into $1 because where means dollar per hour. Here. Plus this department require 1 hour per hour, cost is free. So this is the total cost. এই দুইটা অঙ্কই এখানে দেয়া আছে। তো এখানে এখন যদি ভালো করে দেখো, মনে রাখো তাহলে তো পারার কথা। এবং এই অঙ্কগুলো আমি আগে তো করেও দিছি। সো এটা আজকে শেষ করে ফেলবো ওভারহেড অ্যাবজর্পশন খুব ভালো করে ওখানে যে আমি আজকে যে শিটটা দিয়ে দিব পাঠিয়ে দিব ওখানে সব আনসারও দেওয়া আছে তুমি প্র্যাকটিস করে দেখবা আনসার নিতেছে কিনা ওকে থ্যাংক ইউ